Fear and competition can be your best friend.
Season 3 of the Little Bricks podcast is back. We've got some amazing guests. Can't wait for you to see them. We're going to be speaking mental health, addiction, recovery, sales, business, sports, all sorts of topics. Distraction kills dreams. With the people you spend time with, you will become. Tough times don't ever last, but tough people do. I cannot wait to share it with you.
This week's episode of the Little Bricks podcast is sponsored by Bespoke Financial Group, the UK's #1 life insurance broker, helping protect your little bricks too.
Hello, Terry Stone. Thanks for joining us on the Little Bricks podcast. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Superb. Listen, it's my honour.
It's going to be called the big podcast things. It's going to get bigger, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it always gets bigger, but that's the aim, right? I've got a theory in life and business, Terry, that like little bricks build big castles, and in my game, sales, people are always focused on someone like yourself with your success.
Right.
They don't want to lay the bricks to get there. They don't want to put the hard miles in. Everyone just wants things now, I think. And I believe in the little actions. That's also.
Yeah. No, it's like, you know, I've been sort of making movies for 19 years now, and you know, even when I go right, I'm going to make another movie now. You know, there isn't like a magic pot of money that appears and then all of a sudden we're on a film set making it. We've got to go out and raise the money. We've got to get investors. So, you know, every time the film business is quite mad. Unless you have you know, like a studio fund and you're a streamer, every time you do another film, it's basically like setting up another startup. So you just got to just keep doing these startups over and over again. Exciting and fun.
Yeah, I bet you it is, yeah. Obviously, we'll go into your childhood in a moment, mate, but what you've just said there about raising funds for movies, you know, we're working class lads and on the street, it's survival, right? And you learn little hints and tips to be salespeople, to survive and make things happen. If things from the street in your childhood, do you still carry that into when you're trying to raise money for movies and stuff now?
Yeah, I mean, I think in all businesses, I think with the film business is obviously complex. And, you know, if people don't really understand the structure or understand the way it works, obviously, you know, they can, you know, lose money and the films don't get made. And, you know, some people run around telling people they've got Leonardo DiCaprio in them and he's not, and then they run off with the money. So there is a lot of people that, you know, adopt that sort of mindset. But my mindset has always been, you know, develop a project, you know, film that you think in your heart people are going to want to watch, get the best sort of actors, writers, directors, lights, cameras, music, you know, do everything you can to make it a success. But even when you do all that stuff, the only thing that I do on all of my films, I always make sure all my investors are at the front. So if the film is a massive success, they get the maximum benefit. And if it doesn't work out, they still get something back. And that's, you know, a lot of these film structures, you know, where people invest in a film, that if they actually understand the structure, they normally see that they're right at the back of the money. So as the money comes in, there's always somebody getting a piece out with a premium first. And then, you know, and you know, a lot of that was, you know, there was a big thing with the footballers and these tax schemes that were put out to them. And a lot of the footballers thought they were actually investing in Hollywood movies, which they were, but they didn't realise that their return was capped. So they were getting like a tax relief and they were getting a bit of money back, but they weren't actually sharing the profit. So if a film, you know, went out and, you know, a good example was the James Cameron film, Avatar. People invest in that and, you know, that film cost 200 million. And generate over $1 billion. So if you'd invested in that, you'd be thinking, I've got a massive payday here. But then obviously when they looked into the small print, it was like, no, you only get your money back, your tax reliefs, and then this much money, and then that's it. But then where's the other money going? Well, it's going to the company that sold you the investment. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with it because that's what it all said in the paperwork. But obviously, you know, if you looked at that as an investor and you understood it, you'd be saying, well, hang on a minute. I don't want my return to be capped. If it makes $1 billion, I want to make sure I've got a share of that. Do you know what I mean? I don't care about the tax relief. So, yeah, that's kind of how we've always done our stuff. And we've always been upfront with it. You know, there's obviously a risk in investing in films, just like there's a risk investing in a startup. a tech company buying shares on the stock market or investing in to buy-let property. You know, everything in life carries a risk. I think one of the funniest things, I met somebody and he was obviously keen to invest, and he said, oh, you know, I really want to invest for you, blah, blah. What guarantees can you give me? And I said, well, if you want a guarantee, mate, go and buy a toaster, because there are no guarantees. You know, if you guarantee something in life, I think everybody would be signing up for it, wouldn't they? So, you know, and even when you call on the guarantee for the toaster, normally there's some sort of caveat that, you know, if you've left it somewhere or something's happened, then they can invalidate the guarantee. So toaster guarantee isn't guaranteed.
I really respect it. Isn't it strange though? And it's like the anomaly when honesty in business and being upfront with people before entering something is actually quite unusual.
People, I always say to people, you know, look, you know, I can't, you know, people say, oh, you know, what do you think I could make on this investment? And I look them in the eyes and say, I don't know. You know, you could make 10%, you can make 50%, you can make 100%, you could lose 20%. I don't know. If I knew, you know, the amount, then I wouldn't be asking you to put money in. I'd go to a bank and borrow the money because I'd know I could pay it back, you know. So that's, I mean, our business, what's exciting about it is for anybody who wants to support the arts, I think, you know, and there is a bit of a movement now. If you look at, you know, the content that's being made, lots of people have gone along this, you know, box ticking exercise. So when they make a film now, they're saying, well, can we change this? Can we change that? What about this? Well, you can't put this in. You can't say this. And then what happens is a lot of the content that's being manufactured now isn't, yeah, when I used to go to the cinema as a kid, you know, you'd go in the cinema to be offended or upset or shocked or excited. You know, you go in for an experience. And I think when you're there's some films that I've watched recently and I've sort of rolled my eyes and just thought, you know, somebody said, oh no, you must do this and you must say this. And I think, you know, lots, if you look at the general public, you know, good example, last film we made, Rise of the Foot Soldier Origins. Now that was made in lockdown. It was right. The funds were raised in lockdown. The film was made in lockdown, it was released in lockdown. So obviously we were coming out of the pandemic and, you know, we when we made the film, we didn't even know how it was going to come out because we thought, well, nobody's allowed out, so they're going to watch it. They have to watch it on TV. But as it happens, it went out on 280 cinemas, and today it's been the most successful out of all 5 Foot Soldier films. Now, I obviously said to you know, people I was working with on it, that's because I'm playing the lead role.
Absolutely.
But you know, that was obviously said in jest. But I think the film was obviously really well made, and I think obviously through the years, people have been interested in the Essex Boys characters, and I think not many people knew much about Tony Tucker, and I think a lot of people have, you know, it's sort of when you watch, it's a bit like when you watch Goodfellas, right? You watch Goodfellas, and if you like Goodfellas, and someone says who's the best actor in it, you have everybody saying, I liked Liotta, I liked Pesci, and I liked De Niro, right? But some people say, no, I really liked De Niro, I really like Pesci. But you find that they're the 3 actors they love, but they have a favourite, right? And it's the same with Foot Soldier. You know, some people like Pat Tate, some people like Tony Tucker, some people like Craig Rolfe, but they like them as a group and seeing what they're going to get up to. And I think, you know, doing the last film as a sort of prequel, if you like, to sort of go back to, you know, where he come from, how he got involved, you know, up to when he sort of meets Carlton Leach. That was a story that, you know, needed to be told. Obviously, they had great sort of, yeah, it was a great script. And I think, you know, one thing that COVID has done, which is great for us, is it accelerated. It basically meant a lot of people stopped making content. And if you look around now, everybody's talking about how the UK's booming with the content they're making. But most of the stuff they're making is Hollywood stuff and TV shows. There's not actually a lot of independent British film being made like what we're doing. So the way I see it, we've got this like opportunity now to just churn out loads of great British films with, you know, so they've all got an international feel to them, but they're aimed at the UK market. And, they're the sort of films that, people wouldn't necessarily want to fund. And when I say people, I'm talking about the BBC or Sky or, Netflix. They would buy them and release them, but they wouldn't actually fund them because obviously they have algorithms and they have different things that tell them, what their audience is like. And what a lot of these companies are doing is they're trying to obviously create content which goes around, what their audiences want. Sometimes they hit it on the nose and it's a success. Sometimes it doesn't work. So I think, what we're doing, everyone's sort of going right and they're all going down that road and we're sort of standing on their own. And I think, if you make a good independent film, which it has a true crime element or it has a true story element, people are always going to be interested in watching those films, because people always want to experience, what it's like to be in that world. They don't necessarily want to live it, but, to actually be able to watch it and enjoy it and experience it, I think that's something that we offer. It's like a gateway into that world.
Definitely. Yeah, I think obviously with YouTube as well, every town has a gangster coming out the woodwork, and it seems to be crazy mad. There's that many different podcasts with crime people on there, etc. So
I'm not interested in, there's lots of people who are football hooligans or gangsters, or they think they're gangsters and footballers or whatever, and people who go around, they'll write books and stuff, and the majority of people that are really gangsters, that they would never write a book or would want to be on TV or have their stories aired in public. I mean, obviously some of the Essex Boys stories, really, that, who would have known in 1995, them three guys getting killed in the Range Rover would have spurned 20 movies about the same subject matter. It's crazy, right? But for me, I the reason I developed the first one was because I bumped into Carlton Leach at a restaurant. He was doing a door at a restaurant, and he said, "Oh, you're making films now. I've written a book. You should have a read of the book." So thank God he wrote the book, because if he hadn't written the book, I'd have never made the film. But when I read it, I was like, "Oh wow!" Nigel Benn was in it. There was obviously the football stuff in it. There was the Essex Boy stuff in it, and I just thought this felt to me like, Football Factory meets Goodfellas. That was what the book reminded me of, and I just thought, well, no one's ever done this. But I mean, again, when we talk about how long things take and how hard it is, we developed that script in 2004, right? And we was walking around with that probably for 2 years, right before we got the funding, and people kept saying, "Oh no, why have you got?" And Craig Fairbrass obviously was attached as Pat Tate. Why have you got him in it? It's a bloke from EastEnders. You want to be taken seriously. You need to, get a bigger name. You need to have big names in it. And I just sort of stuck to my guns and said, look, the film is what it is. And, with all respect, it doesn't really matter who plays these parts, as long as they're believable and they can act and they look similar to the real characters. And obviously that film, when it did get made, was an anomaly. I think it sold over 1 million DVDs. It's probably one of the biggest British crime films of, the 2000s, because, I mean, obviously you had Lock, Stock at the end of the 90s, which was a massive hit. Snatch was obviously early 2000, but that had Brad Pitt in it. So, and obviously Guy Ritchie at that point was a massive star. So he sort of come out of being independent. But, I think for those small budget films that were $1 million or less, Foot Soldier, The Business, The Football Factory, those types of films were, those were the films that if you speak to anyone in over the past sort of, 20 years and say, what's your favourite gangster film? Most people say, Lock, Stock, Snatch and Layer Cake, right? Obvious ones. But then I think the independent ones, everyone says Foot Soldier series, The Business, Football Factory. There's obviously other ones as well, but I think those were the ones that did the most business, and obviously, give a lot of people, great careers as actors and producers, to make money out of the film business. Because obviously, in the film business, most of the, it's a bit like a sausage factory. When you make a film, 2 years ago, you'd be trying to get it out and there'd be like 20 films released every week. And you just be there with your little film going, oh, we've made a low budget film and people are not really interested, right? We had to really fight to get out there. But the good thing now is, because there's less content around, there's not 20 films coming out a week. So, if we release a film now, we might be the only crime film out that week or the only independent British film out that week. And, I think we, over the past 19 years, as an actor and a producer, I've got quite an interesting fan base that sort of follow, the films I make, what I do. Some of them have obviously become investors in what we do. Some are just friends or supporters, But what I always find interesting is when we have anything that's sort of true crime, everybody wants to see it. It's exciting. Let's go and film, So we have got a nice little group of, I don't want to call them super fans, but they just like, the sort of stuff that we're making. And, I think every time you make a crime film, you can guarantee that you're going to get loads of people watching, downloading it, supporting it, which is great.
Superb, yeah. Where did you grow up, Craig? Sorry, call you Craig, off Craig Fairbass. Sorry. Where did you grow up, please?
Do I look like him?
No, he's a good looking bastard. He's a big, good looking bastard, isn't he?
So I was conceived in Brixton, and then I was born in Kingston, and then I moved to Putney, and then from Putney I ended up moving out to Bracknell and then Camberley, and I've been sort of in the sort of home counties ever since. But I grew up on a working class, council estate. My mum and dad had normal jobs. My dad worked in Tesco's, my mum worked in an office, so didn't really have any wealth or any privilege, didn't go to a private school, didn't have any handouts, we just everyone just worked, and that was it. And I think as I was at school, I didn't really like it. My mum and dad sort of split up when I was 12. I think I went off the rails a bit then, started to get myself in trouble and just be a nuisance. And I think I think in hindsight I wish that I didn't mess about as much as I did at school. But I think the problem with school systems, whether they're private or whether they're state, that they don't really equip the kids with, I think people should be told at school, if you want to have a go at something, have a go at it. You can achieve anything you want. But you got to work hard for it, and then give them the tools. So say to them, if you want to set up a company, this is how you do it. You need to get an accountant, you need to get a lawyer. So at least when they leave school, if they go, I want to open up a corner shop, or I want to open up a car valeting service, or I want to open up a widget supplier or whatever, they've got the tools to say, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to get this, I need to get that, so that they could do it. And look, the hardest thing for anybody starting off is obviously to get the money to do it. But, nobody give me any money to do anything. I had to go and get it myself. So I've always sort of said, when people go, oh, it's right for you, you're lucky. But, I wasn't lucky. I lived on a council estate. When we eventually got on the housing ladder, there's a massive recession, lost my job, and we lost our house. So there was nothing lucky about that. But the luck really was losing my job and losing my house and putting me in that council house, because then that made me sort of, I had nothing to lose. And obviously when you've got nothing to lose, you're dangerous, because you just, you don't care, right? You've got nothing to lose. So that's really how I got started off in the club business, because, I didn't have any money. All my mates were going to these rave parties. Everyone kept saying to me, you got to go to them. I didn't really have any interest in going to a rave, because I wasn't taking drugs and I wasn't into, dancing in the field with a load of people I didn't know. My night out would be going to one of these clubs where there's a sticky carpet, and they play like Luther Vandross songs, and you try and chat up a woman, and if you got lucky, you'd sort of go home with her, and if not, you'd end up having a fight in a kebab. So that my sort of early teens, when I was sort of 18, 19. And then somebody said to me, I'll come to this rave. And I went to one of these raves, and it was a bit like somebody saying to you, you've never been on holiday. And then they say, just jump on the plane, and you come off the plane and you're in the Maldives. It was sort of like, what is going on? You know, there's all these people there. They're all no fights. Everyone wants to be your mate. Everyone's smiling. Everyone's happy. The girls were coming up to you, chatting you up. The girls were saying, you come and have a dance with me. And I was like, what, you know, why is everyone so nice? Obviously, it's because they was all on fucking ecstasy, right? I just thought, you know, all these people are really nice and really friendly, and you know, and yeah, it was a bit naive for me, really, but I think that's what got me into it. And then I remember leaving this club thinking, wow, you know, I really want to be I want to go out every week. I want to be in this business. And there was these fellas giving out flyers, and I sort of said, oh, you know, you got any jobs? So he was like, yeah. And so I become a flyer boy. And then on the back of the flyers, there was ticket touts, you know, they're selling the tickets for these raves. And I just thought, well, no one's selling them where I live. So I rang up all the promoters off these flyers and said, oh, you know, why don't you let me be your ticket tout? Because I live in the Thames Valley, and, you know, I can do X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. And all these people come in and was like, yeah, you know, great. You know, and I think at the time I was doing, you know, I started to make money at it. And so I was making money out of giving the flyers out. I got all my friends wrapped into it as well. As I had a free night out, and there was about 25 of us. So we was giving out flyers, we were selling tickets. So we got to the point where, you know, I was earning a lot more money than I would have earned, you know, if I was working in the job I had. So I think that's the luck. You know, if I'd have been in the job I'd had and been in the house, I think I'd have been like, okay, we've got a 3-bedroom house on a mortgage. I've got my job. I'm getting paid every month. And I think you get comfortable, and then you just accept that's what you've got. And then, you know, one day you might be an area manager, or one day, you know, you might be a director of the company, but you're never really going to, you know, own a bigger house or earn any more money. So I think what that bad luck gave me, which was obviously luck, really, but at the time it felt like the world was ending, was it like, you know, do this, go and, you know, you've got have a go at this something else, because I didn't know anything about club promoting, I didn't know anything about being a ticket tout, but I just did it. And I think after a while, I then sort of thought, oh, you know, nobody's, you know, there's not a rave magazine, so I thought I'll set up a rave magazine. So I did a sort of Viz type magazine that was a free giveaway outside clubs, and then obviously then we started charging for it. Then it went into the shops, but all of this stuff was just because I was in the business and I was working, and I'd look around and I'd see opportunities, you know. And I think, you know, some people may not have had that common sense where they pick up a flyer and look at the back and go, oh, there's nobody selling tickets in Surrey. You know, Surrey's a big place. So actually picking the phone up and then saying, you know, I want to, you know, sell tickets for you. And you used to get £1, £2, depends how much the price was, and you sell hundreds of these tickets for these events, and there'd be like 2 or 3 a week. So, you know, you on a good week, you could earn, you know, £1,000 just selling tickets. It's just like, everybody would ring up, I want 2 tickets, I want 5 tickets, I want 10 tickets. And there was a sports shop in Camberley, and I'd just go, right, I'll be there from 2 till 3, and I'd just be sat in this sports shop and obviously I used to buy my tracksuits and trainers from the sports shop. So I used to just say to the guy, can I just sit in the shop and sell these tickets? And he liked it because there's a load of people coming in the shop. And when they come in the shop, they buy trainers or T-shirts or whatever alongside the tickets. They was going raving. So he'd be like, oh, you know, can I give you a pair of trainers? I'd be like, yeah, sweet. So it all sort of come out of that thing. But, you know, none of it was planned. It's just sort of all happened along the way. And I think one of the big takeaways from that is when you're talking to people, I always think people need to, you need to be aware of what's going on, and you need to sort of see if there's an opportunity for you to make money. And I think a lot of people don't look for opportunities to make money. They just sort of it's like they're in a trance. They just sort of, I've got to go to work. I'm doing 9 to 5. I'm getting my pay at the end of the month. And, you know, and that's my sort of deal. And I can't change that deal. That's just what I've been handed out, and I've got to just do it. And I think a lot of people, you know, everyone has an opportunity to do whatever they want, but I think people are scared about that. And I think people like a safety blanket of knowing that they're going to get paid every month and have a job, but you know, if you step outside of that and try something else, unless you try it, you're never going to know. So I always say to everybody, you know, have a go, because what's the worst case scenario? It doesn't work out and you lose. But what have you learned from it? You've learned something from it. So then once you've learned something from it, then apply it to something else or go back to your job, But I just think people do need to have a go.
Yeah, I get it. I totally agree. Can relate to you so much. 13 years ago, I lost my house. Man wasn't like, bad luck. Man was my own bad mistakes, addiction, whatever else. But it put me on the right path. It was the best thing that ever happened to me from a career point of view, because it takes the shackles off. It takes that fear away, because you think, fuck, what have I got to lose? And you're a dangerous person. I agree. Totally relate to you. Totally relate. Seen a quote. What's your favourite quote? Is winners never quit, quitters never win.
Yeah.
I read that about you one time.
Yeah, no, just when I was in the boxing club, when I used to box, I was literally, I'd skip, and obviously everyone was skipping a line, and on the wall, he had it in big letters. And I always used to read it and laugh and think that's actually a great quote, because it's true. You know what I mean? It's so easy to quit. It's so easy to say, that's it, I'm not doing it anymore. But you never know in life how close you are at getting something. People always, I mean, look, it works both ways. Sometimes you do need to know when to quit, yes. Because sometimes, you can keep on and on at something, and then you won't let it go, because it's like gamblers, if I like gambling, right? If I go to a casino, I like to have a gamble, but I only do like 10, 20 pounds. If I go to the horses, I might put 10, 20 pounds on. I'm not a degenerate gambler, but I have been places and I have watched people and I've seen them and they lose money. Right, I'm going to get some more money. I'm going to chase it. I'm going to get it back. And it's like a drug addict. You know what I mean? They just keep going, they're chasing it. And the thing is, once you've lost, I think in life, if you're going to invest money in something, you say, that's the money I'm investing. And if I lose that, then I'm not going to invest that until I get that pot back again. Right. And it's the same with gambling. If you go into a casino or you do a lottery every week, if you're going to spend £2 a week or 10 quid or 100 quid a week, that's your money. Once you've done it, don't do any more. Do you know what I mean? But it's hard for some people to be that disciplined. But I think if you do apply that discipline, then, walking away is the hard thing. But there's actually a really good book called The Luck Factor. And somebody told me about it and I read it and it made me laugh, because there's so many great stories in there and lessons in there, which, apply to my life. Do you know what I mean? And when you read it, you can relate to so many things. But then when you read it, you kind of understand what luck is. And a lot of people say, oh, you're lucky or you've been lucky, but they don't actually know what it means. So that book is definitely worth a read, as well as my book as well.
King of Clubs, right?
Yeah.
King of Clubs. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the first book and only book I've read, and I've also narrated it. So there's an audio book as well. But I did that, I wasn't going to be honest, but everyone kept saying to me, oh, what you've achieved with the club scene and the babes, it was so big. I mean, the brands I created still going now. I mean, one of them's 30 years old, the other one's 25 years old. So I must have done something right.
You know what I love, Terry, is like your basic, your values around business, like don't invest if you lose, get out if you are losing, winners never quit. And your values are you treat people, putting your investors first and stuff. Like, it's decent and real common sense. Like, you're just there. And it's lacking a lot of time in business. And I love your, should be even a lot of attraction, and like, working your way towards a goal, and the universe just has a way of moving out the way. And
well, there's an old saying, and I love this saying, right? Every time you get a no, you're closer to a yes. And I actually like that. But I just think persistence is the key. You have to go into life and just think, I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do. And I'm just going to keep doing it, keep knocking on doors. I mean, look, obviously, if you knocked on every door that you could knock on and you spoke to everybody you speak to and there's nobody else you can speak to, then at that point, I would just go, okay, this isn't meant to be right now. So I'll put this over here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come back to it, because in my business, right, it's everything speculative. So I might come up with an idea for a film. I might develop it thinking it's the best thing since sliced bread. But then I go around and nobody really likes it, or people do like it, but they go, oh, we've got a film. So we've got an Oscar-winning director we're working with on this massive film, right? And, we've been messing about with this, developing it for 5 years, right? It's been going on for 5 years. Now, most people would have said after 2 years, I'm done with this. It's not going anywhere. But stay with it. And it finally now looks like this year we're going to get some movement on it. But we've just had to keep going back to it, keep developing it, keep writing it, keep talking to people, and keep chipping away. And that's the beautiful thing about our game. Once it's created, it's created. So it might not be ready now, right? But it will go at some point. So I spin multiple plates. So I've probably got 10 TV series I've developed, probably got 10 movies I've developed. And if I had the money tomorrow, I'd make them all. But obviously, I haven't found a billionaire investor that just wants to keep writing me checks out to fund them all yet. I will do at some point, but at the moment I haven't. So I have to do them sort of individually, one at a time. And, that's what I do. And, I think the best thing about my business is creating something and then people watching it. And, sometimes I could be sat on a train, or I could be on a plane, or I could be in the other side of the world, and someone taps me on the shoulder and goes, "That movie was fucking great. I love that movie," or "I loved your role in that," or "Oh, I used to go to your clubs." And the thing is, it's nice because you don't need a pat on the back, right? But sometimes when people say that, it just validates that you're doing something good. You're on the path. I mean, most people after 19 years, if they hadn't made it and they weren't at the top, they would have given up. But I've been doing it that's how long I've been in the film and acting business for. But I actually feel like I'm only halfway up the ladder. I don't even feel that I'm anywhere near the top. So I'm sort of still chipping away. And if I ever do get to the top, which I probably will at some point, whether it's this year, next year, or in 10 years, even at that point, I'll still be looking up, going, I've still got a couple more rungs to go. I've still got to do this. I've still got to do that. And I think that's what drives most people that are entrepreneurial on, because if you're ever satisfied. The reason I sold my club business was because it started to get dangerous and people started shooting each other. And I just thought, do I really want to be, is the money really worth the aggravation? The answer was no, right? But the thing is, at that point, I'd won all the awards. I'd done all the raves. I've been in Ibiza. I've been in INAF. I've been all around the world. I've done the music albums. I've broken like some massive talent. EZ, Miss Dynamite, all these people, So Solid Crew, all started off with us. You know what I mean? Like right early doors before they were anybody, right? So when that Dizzy Rascal, all these people, right? So when you see them like crack on, you're like, wow, that's amazing. But you sort of look at it and you think, well, what else have I got to do? All I'd have done if I'd have carried on would have just been put an event on, get some money, put an event, and it's just like working in an office. It's like, you're walking the same thing, you're doing the same thing over and over again. You're getting your money, but you're not really excited by it. You're not really enjoying it. And I think as an entrepreneur, people want challenges and want experiences and they want to achieve stuff. So if you have to achieve, and I was 30 years of age. So I thought, I'm 30 years of age. I've been doing this for like 10 years now. I can either step out and try something new, or I can hold on to it and maybe, stay into it for, another 5 years, 10 years. But then, if I'm coming out of it at 35, 40, am I going to have the persistence and the resilience and the time to then go, right, I'm now going to start something new. And it took me 10 years to establish myself as an actor and as a producer. That's a long time. That's a decade out of my life that I've spent being a professional beggar asking people for money, and then finding stories and getting scripts made and then making films and then releasing them. So, it's, that's how long it took. So, when people say you're lucky or, I wish I could do what you're, you might say that, but would you actually have the sacrifice of doing this for 10 years where you're up, then you're down, then, that's not happening. Then got to borrow some money because, your skin, and then, you get some more money and you're like, oh, great, I'm back again. And it did feel, that first 10 years, it felt like being a yo-yo, you know what I mean? You got a bit of traction. You thought, right, we're going now. Everything's going well. We're rolling. And then it'd be like, oh, we've had a setback. Oh, that film didn't work out. Oh, that film did work out. Oh, that company's, so you get all these challenges along the way. But I think, I'm glad that I've gone through them because I've obviously learned more and more about the business and how it all works. But but yeah, so I think all of the things you go through in life, I just think you can look at it negatively and say, well, poor me, or I've had a hard or whatever, or you can just say, yes, I have gone through some experiences, but they've got me to where I needed to be. And sometimes when something bad happens, it's actually good in the long term. So nothing bad really happens.
Yeah, totally agree. See, all successful people, sport, you said about boxing. I think you had, was it Vision's been next John King? I read him on your articles years ago. I read this.
No, at the time, I think I didn't know what I wanted to do when I left school. And one of the careers advisors said, "Oh, what do you want to do?" And I said, "I'm being a boxing promoter." And they were like, "Oh, right, okay. Yeah, good luck with that." Basically dismissed it like I was a fucking idiot. And then the headmaster actually stood up in assembly in front of 1,000 kids and said, "We've had some really stupid people saying they want to do really stupid things. One of them is being a boxing promoter." And I remember looking at this guy and just thinking, mate, you're a head teacher. You're probably on 20, 30 grand a year, right? And, that's your life, right? You're going to retire from being the head teacher and you're going to get your pension and just probably just live. And at the time, Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn's father, Barry Hearn, they were making millions of pounds out of putting these things on. So there was nothing retarded or dumb or stupid about it. It was like saying, I like boxing. I want to promote. I want to be like these guys. I want to drive around in a Rolls Royce. Do you know what I mean? So there's nothing, and it was like they didn't like the fact that I had ambition and I didn't want to go to university and I didn't want to get what they call a proper job. But what they should have done is embraced that and said, look, this is a bit off the cuff. This is a bit left field. But somebody said they want to do this, and we wish them well. Good luck being a boxing promoter. Not make fun of what somebody's dream is, just because they don't agree with it, because they're happy to be a teacher. So for me, I always, that actually put me off teachers, to be honest, because I just thought, who is this person to, do that? Yeah. And obviously, that's kind of, it's changing a bit now. Like my son's just left school and, his teachers were saying, going to university is great if you know what you want to be. But if you don't know what you want to be, it's not great, because you're going to waste 3 years of your life. You're going to get a 50 grand student debt around your neck and you'll probably get a job. So you're better off now doing an apprenticeship or doing something you actually enjoy. And that's my big thing. I think whatever you do in life, you've got to enjoy it, because otherwise it's just torture, isn't it? If you're doing something you hate just for money, you might as well, join OnlyFans or, sell drugs or, if all you want is money, there's millions of things you could do anything you want to make money if you just want to make money. But for me, I want to make money, but also I want to enjoy my life, and I want to have fun. I want to create something. When I die, I want people to go, wow, that guy did this, he did that. I want my kids to look at what I've done and go, wow, I want to achieve stuff. I want to have a go. I don't want them to think that, oh no, I can't do this, I can't do that. I want my kids to have that outlook where they can do anything they want.
Superb. Do you do any mentoring for people?
Pardon?
Do you mentor people? Entrepreneurs?
One of my courses is I set people up on OnlyFans and I take 10% commission. But no, to be honest, I've not. And I think the thing is, you could mentor people, right? And you can advise people, but I think predominantly, it's all down to the person, and I think the best business people are people that have either competed, like whether it's in sport, whether it's in boxing, whether it's in martial arts, because when you go in that ring and it's just two people, and if you haven't trained, you're going to get your head bashed in. You have to be disciplined, you have to commit, and I think a lot of people like the idea of being an entrepreneur, or like the idea of having their own business, but they don't want to take the risk, they don't want to do the work. You've got to be prepared to sacrifice. You've got to really have massive balls to just go, right, I'm going to do it. And if it fails, then it fails. You know what I mean? And a lot of people won't do that. They want a safety blanket. So it's quite hard. Some people just aren't cut out to do it. Some people say, I did a film with somebody once who was obsessed about doing an animated film. They're obsessed about it. And then, you'd ring them up in the morning and they didn't answer the phone till 11 o'clock. And then you ring them up in the afternoon or the evening. And if you rang them after 5, they never answered the phone. And after about 3 weeks, I said to this guy,
Yeah.
"Let's start answering your phone, mate." "Well, I can't because I've got to do the school run. Then I've got to have breakfast with my wife. And then when I come in the evening, I've got to read my kids a bedtime story. I've got to put them to bed. And then I have dinner. Then I watch the telly." And it's like, mate, if you want to do this, you've got to be committed. Yeah. If something happens, right, and I need to speak to you, you need to pick the phone up.
Yeah.
I can't wait a day while you're putting your kids to bed and reading bedtime stories. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, what a lovely man, what a great father." But, if you want to do big, you have to be on 24/7. You can't just pick and choose, your times. I go to the gym in the morning early and train most days. And but nobody I meet wants to meet till 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. So nobody says to me, "Let's meet for breakfast at 8 o'clock in the city." So all the meetings I do are 10:30 onwards. So for me, I might do my training in the morning, but if people were waking up earlier, I'd be in London earlier. I'd be training at probably 5 in the morning. But I think you have to, people always talk about work-life balance. Yeah, it doesn't exist. If you want to be successful, you have to give things up. Sometimes you might not be able to go and see your kid at their school play. Sometimes you might not be able to, pick your kids up from school, or you might have to go away for a couple of weeks. But it's just, if you want to make money, or you want to be a success, you have to give things up. And I think once you're established, if you've got a big company and you've got people working for you, then you can get a work-life balance, because then you can employ somebody to employ people to steer the ship, and you still oversee it. But obviously you've got work to do. But I think the initial stages of trying to set up a business or be a success, you have to make massive sacrifices, massive commitments. And some people just aren't interested in doing that. And I think to those people, I'd say, do a job or do whatever makes you happy. But I think if you actually want to make, in real life, it's stupid, right? Because you make more money, and what do? You buy a bigger house, you buy, a better car, you go on nicer holidays, you buy nicer clothes. So all you're doing is you're living exactly the same, but you've just got nicer things. And so you sort of start thinking, well, what's the point of that? Because you're not really living any differently. You're just doing, so, but I think for me, because I lived on a council estate and I had nothing, we used to my mum used to buy my clothes from Tesco's, right? Now the ranges in Tesco's are quite good, but back then they weren't, right? So, people used to sing, Terry goes to Tesco's where he'll buys his best clothes. Da, 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 da. The thing is, I used to get really angry, and I used to fuck people because it used to fucking annoy me so much that I couldn't get nice clothes and nice shoes and stuff. But the thing is, I think when you do get a bit of success, then you want to have some nice things. So you can say, well, actually, I'm not going to go to Tesco's. I'm going to go to, I'm not going to go to Primark, but I might go to House of Fraser. I might go Ralph Lauren. I might go to Gucci. You know what I mean? So I think because you've never had it, you want to experience it. So you can say that you've at least been able to go in the shop and buy something. And I think little things like that, gives people a validation that they've got stuff. And I think my only thing is I'd like to just create stuff so when my kids are older, they can, they've got a path to follow. They don't just sort of wander around aimlessly, not knowing what to do.
100%, mate. 100%. Honestly, it makes so much sense. The reason I asked the mentor question, I think you'd be fucking brilliant at, and I'd certainly contact you and ask you to do it for me, because I think you're brilliant. Right,
no, it's really kind of you for saying that. But I've never been approached to do it. No doubt, I will probably do it in the future. But I'm too busy mentoring myself at the moment.
yeah, there you go. So obviously it's coming to an end. I appreciate you giving your time up, Terry. What else is going on with yourself at the minute then?
Well, so we're raising money for a film about Chelsea headhunters. So that's a new film project that we're raising money on. And last year, I got contacted by a guy called Paul Carroll, who, tech company, and he was sort of like, have you thought about, the future, Web3, the metaverse, NFTs, blah, blah, blah. And I met up with him, and, I saw an opportunity where I think the blockchain will basically be the thing that most people will transact on at some point in the future. I don't know when it'll be. Already, you know, people like the transparency of it and they like the instantness of it. So you haven't got to wait months for your money. As soon as somebody buys something, you get paid. So I had a meeting with him, and then when we had the meeting, I sort of said, well, nobody's done a film coin, right? So, well, you know, why don't we do a film coin? And he said, that's actually a good idea. So we obviously got that all pulled together. We launched the film coin in April, and you know, it was going to be March, but obviously the war broke out, and the people that were developing the coin and stuff disappeared. So I don't know if they ran away or they got killed or what. So, but we had to then find some more developers. So that was a delay, and I think, you know, it's been an unfortunate set of circumstances for us this year, because we just launched an NFT platform, and we've obviously got NFTs that we've created which are linked to films that we want to make. And you know, it's like we've got an NFT platform, we've got our own cryptocurrency, and now we've got a digital studio. So the plan is obviously to utilize crypto, NFT and film and create content. So that's something that you know, I've been very busy on, but you know, I've also been finishing 3 films off. So we've obviously finished one of them last week, called The Last Heist, which is a Reservoir Dogs type film, which will be out in October. And we've also got a UK garage documentary called 25 Years of UKG, which is got Anthony Joshua in it, Miss Dynamite, So Solid Crew, Heartless Crew, all the big people from that sort of UK garage scene. So that'll be out. And we've also done a Foot Soldier game. So that's going to be a computer game which people will be able to play, you know, on their Apple, Google, Amazon accounts via their phones and their iPads. So that'd be fun. And then, you know, we've got this other film we're doing called Tales from a Trap, and a John Lennon movie called Lennon Lives. So as, you know, sort of a film company, we're very busy in the films we're making. But we've also obviously got this crypto NFT thing, and what we've kind of decided is, you know, the crypto and NFT market, you know, is still going to be here next year. It's not going anywhere. But I think obviously, you know, to try and push that side of it now, I don't know. I know lots of people who dabbled in crypto, and unfortunately bought Bitcoin at $68,000, thinking it was going to get up to 100, and obviously now it's around 21. So those people are not really interested in talking about buying crypto at the moment. But I think what's come out of the events of this year, the war, inflation, you know, the market's been lowered and things crashing and dropping, is you know, the governments are now saying they're going to regulate crypto, which is great, because what it means is all the people that aren't doing it for the right reasons will get taken away. And then that leaves the proper people that are doing it, and they're actually doing it for a reason. You know, we're creating films, we're creating content, we want to sell NFTs, we want to create a proper ecosystem. So I think for us, we're doing it properly. So we will definitely be one of the ones that's still going. And I think as the future comes, you know, through over the next 6 months, year, 2 years, more and more people are going to be accepting Web3, the metaverse, the blockchain, and all the things that we've like. So what we've kind of done really is future-proof our business, so that, you know, whatever happens, we've got that in it. But what I do is make films, so and I act in them. So that's my core business. The rest of it is just bells and whistles that may come in useful, may not. So nobody's got a crystal ball, so we don't know. But having talked to so many people over the past sort of 6 months, everybody feels that that's the way it's going to go. So if I didn't sort of prepare for that, you know, I'd be stupid. So I've sort of spent a lot of time, money and effort getting all this stuff ready. And, you know, it'd be interesting to see, you know, what happens. I mean, we've had an approach from one person who wanted to, you know, put it on the stock market, but obviously that's been delayed because they've said, you know, it's not a good time to sort of do an IPO. You're better off waiting until the new year. So that'd be interesting, because, you know, that obviously then gives you an access to a lot bigger sums of money, and then, you know, we can use them to make more films. So I think for our business, if there is a recession, right, and things are becoming tough because of petrol prices, food prices, whatever, people will always have money to watch a film or listen to music. So I think from a content perspective, people are always going to want content. They're always going to want to be entertained. So, I think if you had a fancy restaurant selling £100 steaks, I'd probably be quite worried now, thinking, will people keep coming and buying these £100 steaks? But we sell movies for anywhere between 99p and £10. So I think we'll be all right.
Top man. I mean, honestly, I've absolutely loved speaking to you. You're a real gentleman, a fascinating character, and I'm forever grateful. Thank you so much. It's an honour to meet you.
No, thanks, Lee. Thanks for having us on, and I look forward to watching it when it's out.
Can I ask you one question before you go, please? I want to know this. The first Foot Soldier film, when Carlton Leach runs the door, was that on one of your raves? Actually, would it have been one of your raves back in the day?
It might have been.
Well, I love it.
But no, to be honest, Carlton was doing illegal raves. Doors, yes. I think the ICF were doing door services for illegal raves. But when I was actually promoting, I was doing the criminal justice bill been passed, and obviously all the illegal raves have been outlawed, basically. And I actually started promoting when it was all legitimised. So it was actually quite good, because obviously all of the people that were like Wild West people were used to doing it the wrong way. And obviously, because I come into it and it was all legitimised, and you had to sign contracts and you had to have a company and pay VAT, it was all done properly. They didn't even know what VAT was, some of these people. So, we got into promoting when it became legitimised, and obviously a lot of those people couldn't do things properly. So that was the other reason I think we excelled, because A, I had nothing to lose. B, that was the only way to do it properly. You couldn't do it any other way. So they were still trying to do all these illegal parties and things the wrong way, and then we were just doing it the right way from the beginning. So. And it took us, 2 or 3 years to establish a brand. And then, we had a 7-year run of it just being, amazing, really good.
Top man. Listen, mate, I'm really grateful.
Well, thanks, Lee. Thanks for your time.
Blow me away. You're an absolute legend. Thank you so much.
Right,
God bless you, family.
Thank
you. So grateful. Thank you.
Join the award-winning team at Bespoke Financial, where you get free training in your own time.